Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of Ballet International. Today we have a new guest, and this guest is an important one. Her name is Mrs. Louise Taitz, and she is originally from Johannesburg. Now she works in Chicago in United States, and she is the artistic director of the On Your Toes Academy. She is also a judge and a studio consultant and a ballet teacher. So, welcome online, Mrs. Louise. How are you
Thank
doing?
you. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's so nice to have you online.
Thank
So,
you for having me.
Mrs. Louise, so you were born in Johannesburg, is that right?
Correct, that's where I grew up.
Okay. So when did you start? At what age did you start learning ballet? Who were your teachers, and where did you start? In which academy?
Well, it was kind of an interesting story how I started ballet. I had a friend and we were only 5 years old, and her mother wanted her to go to ballet. And she would not go by herself. So her mother reached out to my mother and said, can the two girls go and have a ballet lessons together? And so we went to the ballet lessons for the very first time. She hated it and never went back. I loved it, and it became my life's passion.
So you were the only one in the family who continued to study ballet.
Oh, I was the only one who continued. She only went once.
Okay, and how many years did you study in that academy?
Well, I started in South Africa. I was there from age 5 till 17, and then I went to London to Royal Ballet School, and I went to Israel and danced the Israel Classical Ballet, and then I went to South Africa and I had a studio, and then I immigrated to America in December 2000, and I opened my studio. I had 3 very small children, so I only opened my studio in about September of 2002. So I've had the studio for 22 years now.
Wow, nice. And so in South Africa, who were your teachers?
Well, I'm very fortunate. When I went to South Africa, I learned with my initial teacher was Lee Rom and Carol Daniels. She was Faye Daniels' sister. Faye Daniels was a principal ballerina in Pac
Yes.
Ballet. And that was a very, very motivating teacher to have because she really directed my future in many ways. When I was about 12, Lee Rom said to me, I really needed to go to a more advanced teacher.
Mhm.
And I was already training with Bernice Lloyd in her youth ballet, and I did want to go there, but she wanted me to go to Raina Berman. So I continued with Bernice Lloyd in the youth ballet, which I loved, and I have so much love and respect for Bernice Lloyd. But I went to Raina Berman and Joyce Myroff from the age of 13 until I finished high school. And then obviously in England, I trained with Catherine Wade
Yeah.
as well, who was incredible, wonderful human being and teacher.
Have you ever tried to audition for Pact Ballet?
I did not audition for Pac Ballet. My dream when I was about 8 years old was to go to the Royal Ballet School. And that was partially because of my teacher, Carol Daniels,
Yeah.
telling me about her journey at Royal Ballet School, how Faye Daniels' journey at Royal Ballet School was. And I had one goal, and that was Royal Ballet School. And when I was at Royal Ballet School, I wasn't in a hurry to go back to South Africa. I wanted to see the world a little bit. And I had a friend at that time who was dancing with the Israel Classical Ballet, and she reached out to me. It was probably in about September of that year. And she said, Israel Classical Ballet, we're going on this 43-city tour of the United States. They're short of dancers. Why don't you audition? So I didn't know how to audition because I was living in London. And I emailed the director, and she, said, send me some pictures, arabesque, fifth position, Susu. And I sent her the pictures, and she called me literally a week later. My friend had also given a recommendation for me because she had known me for many years. And she said, how quickly can you get here? And I was like, well, I wanted to finish my year at Royal Ballet School because I was training for my solo seal. And that had been my ultimate goal and ultimate achievement for me, was to finish my RAD exams and do my solo seal.
Mm.
And it was 2 weeks away from the solo seal. And I was like, well, can I come in a month? And she was like, we need you next week. So I went. I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to do my solo seal. And I went down and I spoke to the office, to Mill Park at Royal Ballet School. And I said, I don't know what to do. I've trained my whole life to do the solo seal exam. And she said, you don't even have a choice. You take the job. When the job comes, you take the job. Don't worry about the solo seal. You're never going to need it, but you're going to need the job. And so I quickly, literally in about 3 or 4 days period, I packed up all my things in London. I flew to South Africa to say hello to my parents for about 3 or 4 days. And then I headed off to Israel to join the ballet company. So I never really experienced any kind of audition in person. It was a company needing some extra dancers, and I was available, and I had a recommendation, and she liked my pictures, and I was there and I got a job. So I'm very grateful that I didn't really, my friends were traveling around Europe
Yeah.
auditioning. I never got to experience that, but I'm okay. I had a job.
You were very lucky, because usually it's a audition that you have to to be accepted. And which was the ballet company? Batsheva?
No, it was the Israel Classical Ballet Company.
Uh-huh.
Well, they call it Ballet Israeli.
Yeah.
It was founded in the 1960s. It's still going very strong today. It was an incredible opportunity to dance there.
Yeah.
Balanchine gifted the company several of his pieces.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that I got to dance several Balanchine pieces. And then we also did traditional, laser feeds, pas de quatre,
Yeah.
nutcracker. And
Yeah.
then we had many guest choreographers as well. So, and the director, Bertie Polsky, used to do a lot of the choreography herself.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting change from Royal Ballet, because Royal Ballet is very pure, clean technique. And then I suddenly went into this company that had loved Balanchine, which is really not British, pure round arms, the arabesques high.
Yes.
And I was initially, it was a bit of a shock to me, because I'd been this R.A.D. dancer, and I will never forget calling up my father and saying, "Oh, they're trying to change me all this whole year at Royal Ballet School, and they're trying to change me, and my arm at the palm must be facing the ground, not the well-held arm." And I will never forget what my father said, and it served me so well as a dance educator today. And he said, she's not trying to change you. She's adding to what you already know. So yes, you can do the pure British technique, but you are able now to adapt to Balanchine.
Yeah.
Because the very next month after we did Serenade, they were looking for people to do pas de quatre. And of course I would be picked, because I came from this pure British training. So it was an incredible experience. The company is going very strong right now. There are a lot of Russian dancers in the company right now, but the company is doing very well. So I mean, and then I went on the 43 city USA Canada tour. I've danced in more places in America than probably most Americans have even visited. So it was a very, very exciting time. I've also performed in Italy. We also went to Italy on tour, which was also incredible experience.
Yes, well, it's in Italy it's different from United Kingdom and from United States, huh? It's beautiful,
Yes, it's
but
different
it's a
because they have
different
siesta every day.
it's a different atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
So could you describe now your impact when you left South Africa and you arrived to the Royal Ballet Academy? How was your impact with the new teachers, I mean, was it nearly the same as the South African study that you were
No,
making?
it was very different, because in South Africa I had been in high school doing my academics. I was at the Johannesburg School of Art, Ballet and Music. And we would have obviously ballet every day, and maybe once a week Spanish or character or Greek. And then when I arrived at Royal Ballet School, it was all day just dancing from 9 a.m. until 6, 7 p.m. It was for me it was my dream. It was my dream from the time of about 8 years old to go to Royal Ballet School. And my parents said to me, we promise you if you get in, we'll make it happen financially, because it was expensive. And I'm very grateful to my parents for sacrificing a lot to give me the opportunity to dance in London. Just to be in London, as a student at Royal Ballet School, you get to go watch Royal Ballet Company for free. I mean, you stand in the back of the theater, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I saw some incredible dancers. I watched Nureyev in class one day. It was an incredible opportunity, but it was a very big change and very different, because here when I was at the Art Ballet Music School in Johannesburg, not everybody was planning on a professional
Yes.
career. But when I got to London, everybody is planning on a professional career. So it's competitive, but it was wonderful because I made friends with dancers from all over the world, from Japan, Australia. A lot of Australian dancers were at the Royal Ballet School in the 80s. It really was a life-changing experience. And I consider myself very fortunate that I had a dream and I was able to live my dream.
Yes. Yes.
I'm very grateful to my teachers who, gave me the opportunity to actually have that dream.
Yes. And also you were very lucky to have your parents who supported you and helped you
Oh, definitely.
during all the way, because not in every family the parents help the children to do ballet.
Yeah, well, I was training, Raina Berman was one of the best teachers in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I got into the Royal Ballet School through her recommendation because I couldn't fly to London for the audition, but
Yeah.
because she was an RAD major examiner, she went to Royal Ballet. She was judging in London at 1 year, and she took my pictures and she met with, it was Barbara Fuster in those days, and she said, I have this dancer. I would recommend you take her. So I have been very fortunate along the way that I haven't had to do much in the way of auditions, that I had people supporting me and, giving me the opportunity, to live my life and my dreams the way I wanted to.
Yes. Are you still in contact with all these teachers that you had in the past?
Well, sadly, my teachers in South Africa are no longer with us. I am in contact probably once a year. I email Catherine Wade, who was my teacher in London. And it's kind of just hi, this is what I'm doing. I'm so grateful to you. She gave me so much confidence. She really was a very powerful force in my life as a dancer. She gave me the courage to go forward.
Yeah.
I remember walking out of Mill Park's office, almost crying because I wasn't going to do my solo seal exam. And she was like, no, this is amazing. Everybody's getting on a train to go to Sweden next week and another country the next day, and you've got a job already. So I am in contact with her, not often, but once a year. I kind of send her a, hi, how are you doing? And she always replies, thank you so much. It's not a long correspondence, but I just like kind of tell her what I've been doing over the last year or so. So yes, I definitely do like to stay in contact with her as well.
So if you like, you may send the link of this interview that you are doing today to
That would be
people,
wonderful. Yeah, that would
because
be
we are
wonderful.
talking about all these teachers that are important, and it's also nice to remember important people of the past.
Oh yes, for sure.
Because they gave you this great opportunity and love to approach the pure academic ballet.
Mhm.
So how was your impact when the first day you arrived in Israel and you had to dance with the Balanchine style? How was your impact to see new people in the company, new teachers, a new atmosphere that a few weeks before you were in England? And so how did you feel?
It was very exciting because there were a lot of dancers from other countries. There were quite a few British dancers, so there was a lot of English being spoken, but there were a lot of Israeli dancers, but they speak English, but there were a lot of Italian dancers as well in the ballet company, and they weren't always speaking English, but they were the nicest, friendliest people. I was so excited to have a professional contract in my hands. I remember I think the first 2 weeks was like almost like a trial. You didn't get your contract straight away. And then they called you into the office. And once you signed that contract, it was probably one of the most joyous moments of my life because, you know, many children go through their lives and my mother never didn't in the beginning think I was going to be wanted to be a ballerina, because the week before I wanted to be a nurse, and the week before that maybe I wanted to be a firefighter. So I was always changing. But the minute I had my first ballet lesson, I had a strong suspicion. The first time I performed on stage, I got off the stage and my mom was crying. I don't know why she was crying, but she was happy crying. And I knew that day, and I was probably 6 years old, that this is what I wanted to do with my life. And so to actually be in that situation, 12 years later, being 18 years old and getting into a ballet company so quickly, it was my dream came true. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity that all my teachers prepared me for, so that I could actually take this opportunity. So it really, I'm very grateful to everybody who supported me along the journey, including my own family, my mother, my father, my brothers, who had to watch so much ballet. I think they wanted to, but they were there to support. But I had a dream from a very young age, and I managed to do what I wanted to do. But I was initially watching the Balanchine. I was interested. I was just a little bit taken back that I would have to work a little bit differently. But it was okay. As I said, it was adding to what I already knew, not changing anything.
Yes, because the work of Balanchine, the choreographies of Balanchine are very technical, and they are a little bit faster in the enchaînement. It's not like if you take Romeo and Juliet of the Royal Ballet. It's
Correct.
different. It's a completely different type of work or technique. It's it's more like a ballet class enchaînement, but it's very fast. It's very dynamic.
Very, very fast, very dynamic. You can't hide anything, because usually it's just a leotard.
Exactly.
Even Serenade, it's a leotard and a long skirt.
Yeah.
But it gave me a true love for Balanchine. Like once I really immersed myself in Balanchine, I really loved Balanchine. To me, the opening of Serenade, where they danced are standing in parallel first with one arm out, and the story is because the sun was shining in the studio. To me, when you see all those dancers standing on the stage like that, it is such a magical moment. And then it just speeds up really fast. Even Concerto Barocco, so fast, and then suddenly you're in B plus and you're just standing. And it's really, I have a love for the classics. For me, there's nothing more beautiful than Les Sylphides, but I definitely have a deep appreciation for Balanchine. And whilst it might have been a little bit of a shock and something I wasn't used to in the beginning, I really feel like I've adapted to it, and I really enjoy watching it. And I speak about Balanchine, as in the United States, we say, he's the doctor of ballet. He really brought something to the United States. So I like sharing his story with my own students. They find it interesting. They find it funny as well. But yes, no, definitely, I have a deep appreciation for Balanchine alongside the classics.
Yes. So how long did you stay in Israel with the company?
I was there for about 5 years. And then I decided I started really missing my family a lot. So I decided to go back to South Africa. And when I went back to South Africa, I danced with Packhoffs. And I was doing their musical, like the musical theater, the Great Waltz. I was doing those kind of performances where they needed dancers on point in the musicals. So I did that for about a year. And then I decided I wanted to start teaching. So I opened a studio.
In South Africa.
In South Africa. I opened a studio in South Africa. I got my modern dance teaching certificate because I wanted to do something more besides just ballet. But my heart, I always get drawn back to ballet. So even though, I have modern dance core and SADTA certifications in South Africa, I keep getting drawn back into ballet. That's where my heart and my soul and my passion is. I often say that people who have ballet in their lives, we are very lucky. We are very blessed because some people can go their whole life and never find anything that they're passionate about. And
Yeah.
when you feel that you have ballet in your life and it's your passion, it's a good life.
It's a good life. Yes, I totally agree with you. So then from South Africa, you started teaching for how many years before the leaving to United States?
Probably for about 4 years. I don't remember exactly, 4 or 5 years. I had a very small studio. Um, I rented a space in a gym, a local health club. Um, and then I got married and I had children. And then we decided to immigrate and, come to the United States.
Right.
And initially I wasn't going to open a studio here. I thought I would just be a mom. And that's kind of interesting how I opened my studio because my daughter was 4 years old and I wanted her to go to ballet class because every child should go to ballet. And I'd sent her to this ballet studio. And after every exercise, the teacher would say, she'd pull out this sheet of princess stickers and she would say to the kids, come and pick a sticker. You know how long it takes a 4-year-old to pick a sticker? It takes a very long time. So maybe they did 3 things in the whole class. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm paying money and my daughter is picking stickers because they're like, I want this sticker. No, I want that sticker. No, I want this sticker. They wouldn't get anything done. And not that I expected them to be drilling the whole time, but they would just spend the whole lesson picking stickers. So I came home and I said to my husband, that's it. I'm opening my own studio.
Good.
So just as a small studio, something to do. I'll teach my own daughter and I'll get all her friends. So I was very lucky. My daughter was in a preschool, it's a brand new building, and they had an empty classroom. Nothing, just the 4 walls, nothing. And I said to him, well, how would you like me to offer ballet classes here? Now, I will tell you, in South Africa, I never taught anybody under the age of 11. I used to take only age 12 and older. I didn't teach little kids. But now I'm in a preschool, and the only kids available to me are preschool kids. So I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I went back, I went into a little bit of like research, what do you do with like a 4-year-old in ballet class? And I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. So I went to this preschool director and I said to her, well, how would you like to offer dance classes here? And she was like, I'd love that. We have this empty room. We'll put up mirrors for you and we'll buy you bars. And I was like, this is wonderful. I mean, I don't really need bars. They were 4 years old. But then I started speaking to my daughter and her friends came. And then the friends' older siblings came. And suddenly my first year, I think I started with 60 kids. And I was only teaching twice a week. So it was a really good amount of children for only teaching, literally 2 afternoons a week.
Yeah.
And then it just grew and grew and grew. And then they gave me another classroom. And then eventually in 2008, I had to move into a much bigger facility. And then in 2012, we expanded into it's a shopping mall, into the stores next door, so that
Yeah.
I have 4 studios today. But it was just a very interesting journey how I was no intention of teaching. And suddenly like, well, if my daughter is being taught how to pick a sticker, I'm gonna teach myself. So that's how it all started.
Now, how old is your daughter?
How old is she now?
Yeah.
Oh, now that I have 2 daughters and I have a son, my older daughter is 27 now,
Ah,
and my younger daughter is 25.
and they are still continuing dancing?
Well, my older daughter actually dances for Disney in Florida, and next month she leaves on quite a long tour. She's going to be dancing on a cruise liner. So she's going to be traveling the world. She's going to go to Hawaii, Alaska, Australia, New Zealand,
Good.
dancing on a ship. Now that's her dream. Now that's not my dream, but that's her dream. But I feel, I think she should do it because she's still young, and that's a great way to see the world and to travel and be paid for it.
It's a good
So that's
experience also. It's a good experience to start
it's
with.
fantastic experience,
Yeah.
and she can actually save quite a good amount of money because she doesn't have to pay rent, she doesn't have to pay
Yeah.
for food or medical.
Yeah.
So it is a very good experience, to travel as well. My younger daughter is actually a choreographer. By her regular job, she's an engineer, and she works for Apple. but she is one of my best choreographers. She does not dance anymore. She was a phenomenal dancer, but she was petite and she had a math brain and she wanted to go and do something else. But she choreographs the most incredible work. All my work that wins at Youth America Grand Prix or places is her work. She's very sought after in my studio. When she lives in Austin. When she comes to Chicago to visit, everybody wants a Kelly solo, or they want to be in her group. Parents will pay anything to be in her group because she does get results. And it's sometimes hard for me to understand because when I choreograph, I need to physically be able to move it and do it. And her, it's just all here. She has her formations and she has it all here, how she can do that. So,
Well,
some people.
if your daughter is working for Apple, then her brain is like a computer. She knows how to program everything in her life.
That's right. That's right.
And what about your son? Did he start a ballet also or not?
No, well, my son was an interesting story. My daughters were in the Nutcracker one year, and he came to watch the Nutcracker performance, and he saw the toy soldiers. He must have been about 7, and he said to me he wants to be a toy soldier in the Nutcracker next year. So I was like, "Wait, you have to come to ballet class." And he was like, "No, I'm not going to ballet class." I'm like, "Well, you can't audition." I said, "The only way you can be a toy soldier." And he was like, "I want to be a toy soldier. I want to be a toy soldier. I want to have the gun. I want to be in the yellow and the red outfit with the little hat." And I was like, "Well, you have to go to ballet class." And he was like, "No, not going to go ballet class." So he never became a toy soldier, but he is a runner. He is very athletic, very sporty, very healthy. He works for he's an actuary, but he has nothing to do with dance. And if he goes to watch his sisters when they were older, he would sit there with his phone and play games. After this toy soldier story, he was not interested in dance anymore.
However, you must admit that the ballet gave a great solidarity in all your family between your 2 daughters and your son.
And even my husband, he really has such a great appreciation for ballet. He helps me run the studio more from the technical side. But my husband is one of 4 boys, so he never grew up in this ballet world. And when we met, he took me once to see Romeo and Juliet, and his brothers kind of teased him a little bit about that. But he wanted to make a good impression on me, so he took me to Romeo and Juliet. But even today, he enjoys watching ballet with me, and he's very much a critic. He will tell me what he thinks is good. He'll tell me if somebody's feet weren't stretched. He'll tell me if the arabesque was good. So now he's an expert. But it's nice that he will. If I was to say to him, let's go watch Giselle, that he will come with me to watch Giselle. He's quite happy to, and he's quite happy to give me his opinion afterwards as to what he likes and what he doesn't like and whose feet were stretched. He's very concerned about the feet. I am too, but usually a professional company, you don't have to worry too much. But when he comes to our studio, dance competitions or anything that we do, he will tell me who did a good job and who didn't, and who's got talent, and he's now an expert.
So how are your parents now corresponding with you? They must be, I presume they must be very proud of you that you have been dancing. You are in the United States. You had your 2 daughters and your son your son didn't do ballet, but your 2 daughters did ballet. So I think that your parents must be very happy about you.
Well, my father and I had a very special bond because one of the things we used to do in South Africa would go to the Civic Theatre every time there was a new ballet, and it was our special daddy and daughter time together, and we would go and watch the ballet. And it was really a special time for us. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but my mom is with us, and she fortunately lives here in Chicago, and she works at my studio, and she helps out, and she comes with us to all the performances, competitions. She doesn't miss anything. She's kind of the studio dance grandmother. But I know she's very proud of me, and she tells me so. It's been a culmination of so many years' work and effort, and I haven't wavered. I love ballet today the way I loved it yesterday and the day before and all those many years ago, probably more, because I appreciate it so much more now.
Yes. Now that you are teaching now for many years, how do you organize yourself? Which type of technique or the syllabus do you use when you teach? Is it more Balanchine or is it more Royal Academy of Dancing?
Well, I think Balanchine is more of a style, and I would not want to teach Balanchine style to younger students because I feel that younger students need purity and clarity first. Now, for many years when I came to America and I had to start teaching younger kids, and I hadn't had that experience, I taught mostly older kids in South Africa. I went and did a course with Minion Furman at the American Academy of Ballet many years ago, and she had a whole program. And I am the first person to admit the worst ballet teacher I ever met in my life, the worst, was myself after I hung up the point shoes. Because I remember standing at a bar going, tendu à la seconde, well held, turned out foot, pointed, and nobody could do that. And I was like, can you just look at me and just copy me? And then I realized, actually, it doesn't work this way. People can't just copy you. Maybe as a professional, you think you go step PK and you can look like the person next to you. But now when you're working with children, it's a little bit different. So that's when I realized, I need to go and train and figure out how to teach younger students because I don't want to bring bad habits into the future generation. So I went and I trained one summer with Minion Furman in New York. And she was a huge inspiration. And I bought her entire syllabus program, and it's an incredible stepping stone program. After 1 year, it tells you what to do. And then the next year, you don't have to stick to it, but it's basically a guide. And it really helped me. And she was also a wonderful, wonderful woman. I could call her up and say, I'm battling to teach this to this age group. Like, do you have any tips or advice? Because I was still learning. I might have been a professional dancer and could do it myself, but I was still learning how to teach it. Not everybody actually can go and just teach it. And as I said, I thought everybody would just look at me and copy me. Well, it didn't work. And for many years, I corresponded with her until even she passed away in 2012. And she was a huge influence on me. I would call her for one question, and 1 hour later, we're still on the phone talking because she would have so much knowledge. She was a wealth of knowledge. Now, she was a teacher who was in a wheelchair that could choreograph in a wheelchair. And I tell you, I have to move. I have to hear the music, and I have to move. So she was an incredible force. I also feel as teachers, we're always learning. So I've done 2 PBT, Progressing Ballet Technique courses, and I definitely learned a lot from that, which I've incorporated into my teaching. I went and I did ABT in New York, had a course on the classics, and Mina Gilgood we had to do it through Zoom because it was COVID and she was in Europe. And I did a course on the classics as well, which, just reinforced the purity that I like. I'm happy with a nice clean arabesque with younger students. I don't need to see the leg up there and arched back and hip open. I don't want to see those bad habits in younger age. And then I became very involved with a school in Portugal, and I was very fascinated with the syllabus that they teach there, and they follow the Cuban method. So I went, it was probably about 2 years ago, maybe 2021, it could be the end of 2021, to ABT, and Laura Alonso, who was Alicia Alonso's daughter, was doing the course on the Cuban method. And I learned so much in that course. So much in that course made so much sense as to why the Cuban method is so successful, why the dancers are not getting injured, why they have longevity. And I can give you an example if you want, and it made sense, something I didn't know my whole life, but it made sense at that time. Professional dancers walk into the studio half an hour before class, and they stretch and they do all their exercises and they warm up before they do pliés. Our students coming to the studio, we're in Chicago. It's freezing cold. Now, my heat may be on, but they've come in their warm jackets and clothes and everything. And their bodies are so cold. And what is the first thing? And they walk straight into class because they can't come half an hour before and warm up. What is the first thing we have them do? 16 grand pliés. 2 in first, second. I don't really use fourth, but some people do fourth, fifth. The first thing we do is doing 16 grand pliés, and the body isn't even warm. And that's when the light bulb went off in my head. And I thought, wait, this is actually true. Why are we doing something that's so strenuous on the knees? The first thing, before we've warmed up anything, the Cuban method, it's lots of tendus, devant in first, in fifth, a lot of dégagés. And maybe after the first rond de jambe, there's one grand plie in first. I was so amazed at this. It kind of made sense to me. It made sense. And I started bringing that into my studio, that we don't have to start the class with 16 grand plies or 14 grand plies. We don't have to start the class with grand plies. We'll start based so many tendus, and that's why the Cuban method is working so well. So whilst I like to say I'm RAD trained, you know, I've learned from ABT, I've learned from American Academy of Ballet, and I'm definitely learning from the Cuban method. And every year I go back to Europe, to Portugal, and I go and I observe classes. Last year, I watched Venus Villa teach class. Beautiful. I mean, I've watched most of the teachers, they are Cuban. Anarela Sanchez, I truly believe that lady is going to be known as one of the greatest teachers of the century. What she is producing in Portugal is unbelievable. Her students are so successful. And when I say successful, I'm not talking about winning competitions or doing solo CL exams. I'm talking about getting contracts at 16, 17 years old, and going into companies as soloists. So you know, I do a lot of work with her, getting American dancers there, and some of them full-time. But the training is, the Cuban method for me has become something I didn't really know much about maybe 10 years ago, but something that's very, very interesting, and I think should really be looked at from an anatomical point of view as to how healthy this method of training really is. It's very interesting.
Yes, well, this is all this is thanks to Alicia Alonso and to her daughter Laura Alonso. They continue the legacy, and the teaching it's very, very strong and highly appreciated in many ballet schools everywhere. Because when you talk about the Cuban method, everybody looks to it with a great, you know, how can I say?
Respect.
Respect, yes, because it's a very strong method.
Oh, yes.
So now that you are teaching, do you have an impact? Do you have to face that strong impact with the parents? Sometimes the parents don't understand what you are maybe teaching, or maybe they want to talk about something, because if you analyze well, sometimes the parents become the main problem and obstacle for the children. Have you ever experienced that?
I am very fortunate that I have such a love for ballet that I've really, in my studio, we teach everything. We teach ballet, jazz, contemporary, hip hop, tap, musical theater. We have everything, but ballet is a foundation. And unless somebody comes to me at the age of 12 and says, I just want to do hip hop, every young child is required to do ballet. One of my choreographers actually turned around to me and said, there's something wrong with your students. And I said, what? She goes, all they do is watch ballet on YouTube. They don't watch any other style. They're just watching ballet. They're watching ballet variations. They know all the ballet variations. I don't have to teach them the ballet variations because I know them already. And I think it's my love for ballet that I've actually been able to share with my students. I think my students are very successful in dance competitions, and my studio is very respected because of the level of ballet we bring. So even if we have a piece that might win YHEP, that's a contemporary piece, you will see that dancer has a very good ballet foundation. Her body is well held, her arms are well held, her feet are stretched, her legs are extended. So I don't believe I really have had any problems with parents. I think my parents embrace ballet. I think they appreciate ballet because we do a lot of competitions where there's a lot of hip hop and maybe like not such appropriate dancing, and the parents are like, oh, I'm so glad we don't do that, or thank you for, 2 years ago I decided, because my dancers keep watching YHEP videos and watching solos, but they weren't watching Les Solfèges. And I said, I want to teach them Les Solfèges. So I actually took 2 sections of Les Solfèges, and I kept a lot of the same choreography, but it was kind of an introduction to Les Solfèges, and I choreographed this group around them. A lot of but I wanted the feeling, I wanted the little gentleness. I wanted them to feel this. And we had the white long tutus and the, you know, the little hairpiece. And, you know, it's very soft, no high legs and extensions, you know, very, very traditional to the style. And I first of all, I told them the story behind laser feeds, and then I choreographed this piece, and we took it to our dance competitions, and it was so well received. And the parents, you know, very often for a father to see his daughter, especially in America these days, very feminine, very pretty, very delicate. It's a lovely thing for a parent to see their child like this.
Yes.
So I have a few parents who, you know, would prefer their children to have professional careers. Others might not want them to have professional careers, but, you know, we support them in both ways. If I have a dancer who wants to, you know, I do have a very talented dancer who does want a professional career. So, you know, I need to guide her in the right way. And the parents are very supportive because they trust me. And that I think is very important. But that's been 22 years of building up trust in my business, in my studio, so that I will always do what's right for you. And I work with a lot of students who are not even my own students in the United States, creating opportunities. I'm the USA representative for the Conservatory de Ballet Danca Amarela Sanchez in Portugal. I'm responsible for taking a group of American students every summer to Portugal to train. I go around the country auditioning. I take serious people. I don't take people who want to just go to a camp. I want people who are looking to probably have a career in dance. And I audition them. I have this year 42 students from 10 different states in Canada. We're going to go together to Portugal for a month. And then in September, I have 4 students who are going to go back and join the full-time program because they know and I'm here to guide them. I'm basically the representative here. You know, I help them with the process. I audition them. I send pictures to Anarella, you know, to get her final okay. We communicate a lot. But it opens up a door of opportunities for these dancers. So I don't, you know, I feel we all have a role in the ballet world. My role is not only my studio. My role is ballet dancers in general who want a professional career and to help guide them.
You are the one who holds all the key to open all these great possibilities to the young dancers.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities for young dancers because in addition to that, I'm working with a school in Amsterdam to send dancers to Amsterdam next year. I also have a school in Chicago, another school in Nashville, you know, just looking for opportunities for dancers to go and spend their summer at and experience something different as well.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to do something similar that you are doing in Europe for South Africa?
You know, that's a good question. I think the big thing is sometimes finances. Even though the dollar is probably strong against the rand, a lot of people are scared to go to South Africa, because they you know, there's a lot of crime there, but there's a lot of crime in America too. I don't know how easy it would be for me to get people to convince people to go to South Africa. Everybody wants to go to Europe, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. And a lot of the people from South Africa come to USA. I mean, they have to have a lot of money because USA is very expensive. It's very reasonable for us to go to Europe. It would be reasonable for us to go to South Africa. It's actually a good question and something I should really think about for the future. So yeah, something I definitely can think about for the future. And I have a lot of contacts in South Africa. Maybe do some kind of cultural exchange. That might not be a bad idea. Thank you for that idea.
Because there is a lot of talent in South Africa. Plenty of talent. Plenty.
And I know a lot of the best teachers I know in the United States are actually originally from South Africa. I know you've interviewed some of them as well, but there's a lot of very, very good teachers in the United States. And I think the difference though is coming from South Africa, we followed a curriculum, we followed a syllabus, we either did RED or Juketi. in America, people don't really do that. They don't really do exams. It's not as big as it is in South Africa. In South Africa, parents will not go to a studio unless they know their child is going to get a Jaquetti or an RAD training. In America, parents just go to the studio around the corner from where they live or where their friends go.
Yeah.
They don't really ask about any kind of, and I don't even do exams. I used to do enter kids in exams in South Africa. I don't even do that here because it's just very different.
Very different, yes. So let's now, if you have the same possibility that what you are doing in Europe to do in Israel, something for Israel, would you do that? Not now because there is the war, but once the war is finished.
I actually did last year. I sent dancers to the Kibbutz Contemporary Dance Company. And they had an incredible summer. They came back, they loved working there. They did work of Ahad Naharin. You know, they loved the ballet teacher, and there's a ballet teacher there, Alexander. They loved him as well. And yes, I absolutely would do that again because it was a phenomenal experience. Just right now with the war going on, I mean, nobody will send their child from America to Israel, but it's definitely something that we will go back to. Last year was the first year of doing it, and it was a fantastic experience. It's really fantastic for American students to go out of America and experience dance programs outside of America and to meet people from, you know, they can go to a school in Carolina and it's going to just be everybody's from America there. They go to a school in Portugal and there'll be Japanese dancers from Spain, Italy, Germany. It's really an incredible opportunity for the dancers. And it reminds me when I went to Royal Ballet School and there were dancers from Australia, Japan as well, you know, so it's very, very nice for dancers to have that kind of opportunity.
As you see, we all make part of one family. This is why we say that ballet is international. So you have students coming from Japan, students coming from United States, from everywhere. They all mix the different type of technique and work, but then it becomes something beautiful to see when you make a choreography with all these students.
Correct. And I often say to parents, you know, they say, well, like, what language do they speak? And I will say, well, it doesn't matter because Tombe Parabregli Sad Padisha is the same in Japan as it is in America. So don't worry about the language.
When you have in a big studio, in a wide studio, you have about 25, 30 students that come from every country. They will all talk the same language once they are at the bar. Once they are doing the same adage, they do the same movement, the same enchaînement. And this becomes a language of its own, which is becomes a poem, the most beautiful language of ballet. And this, I think, is important, and that people have to understand that ballet is international, but ballet becomes one for all the dancers. There is no difference of nationality, of religion, of color of the skin. We are all the same in ballet. We are all the same. Right. We may have different type of schools, may different type of technique, but then we all mix together. And this is the most beautiful thing. So now when you turn back in the years, when you started in South Africa, do you have any regrets that you say that you wanted to become a nurse, that you maybe the week before you wanted to do something different, and now that you look at yourself how you are now, do you have any regrets or you are happy of what you're doing?
I have no regrets. You know, I had a dream at that young age and I was able to, you know, go to the Royal Ballet School. I was able to dance in the company and everything else that happened after that is just an extra bonus. Yeah. So no regrets.
Good, good. And how many hours do you work every week when you teach or choreograph in this your ballet school?
I teach probably only about because I travel a lot on the weekend, so I teach probably during the week about 8 to 10 hours. And if I'm here on the weekends, it's an extra few hours. I do a lot of traveling on the weekends. I'm auditioning for the summer program in Europe, or I also work as a dance competition judge. So that's a lot of traveling as well.
Yeah.
But it's been beautiful because I can go to like Kansas City and I can pick up that one diamond there and offer her a place in a summer school program. And, I invite them on the stage. They have no idea what I'm asking them to come up on the stage for. They don't know, it's just a unique opportunity. And then I invite them to Europe and it's like incredible. I've had mothers crying and hugging me and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment. But on the weekends, I as I said, maybe 8 to 10 hours during the week. And
Yeah.
I teach a lot less now than I did many years ago, but then I'm also running the business. But I do like to have my hands on all the students after age 8. I don't teach preschool anymore. I have a phenomenal teacher who does that. And I work very well in conjunction with my one ballet mistress. We work same technique, same style. So everything that they do on Monday is reinforced with me on a Wednesday. So, we definitely do work very well together.
So you have a big team who is working with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You are directing, but you have a team around you who help you and support you in the work. So
Correct.
if there is someone who come and tell you, because people think that ballet is only for well-off people. And if you have someone who cannot afford everything, will tell you, look, Mrs. Louise, I'm sorry, but my daughter cannot come because I don't have enough money to pay the tuition. How would you behave and you see that this student has a lot of talent?
Well, I will, as needed, financially needed, scholarship a student. I'm also a little bit careful though, who I would scholarship. So for example, during the war in Ukraine, a lot of Ukrainian children came to Chicago and I offered them a class. And I offered them a class that was just for them because, first of all, they didn't speak English. So to put them in a class with all my American kids would have been very uncomfortable. These kids were traumatized. Created a class the first year just for them, and there was no charge. I had ballet shoes donated. I had leotards donated, but not old, like new from the ballet store. No, not somebody's secondhand stuff. So we definitely, we had a program for them. Now the thing is that sometimes people have pride and they don't want to take. And then for the following year, some of the moms were like, no, we have to pay. And we kind of made it less because I didn't really want them to be paying that full amount because it is very expensive. I have a very big facility. I have 10 teachers to pay, salaries to pay. I currently have a young boy who started doing hip hop. And one day he just took his shoes off and pointed his feet. They were like this. I was like, you have to do ballet. He's 6 years old. Like, you have to do ballet. But I know they just moved here from another country. And I just said to mom, I want him to do ballet. I'm going to scholarship him ballet this year. And she's like, it's fine. He can just do hip hop. I'm like, no, this boy is going to be a phenomenal dancer one day. He's got so much potential. He can stand in first. He's only 6 or 7. Arms are rounded in first position, turned out feet in first position. So, I did scholarship him there. And over the years, sometimes I give merit-based scholarships to students who's maybe been with me for many, many years. I just want to give them a reward, so it could be like, you'll get a free ensemble group, something like that. But, if somebody is in financial need, and but I need to know it's genuine financial need, because you could tell me it's financial need, but then you post all your pictures of your Jamaican vacation.
Yeah.
Then it's not, I'm a little bit nervous then. But if somebody, I do know who has genuine financial need, and I would never want that to be in a way, I do remember that when I was a kid, my mom could only afford ballet lessons.
Yeah.
And I started modern with a wonderful teacher. Her name was Lorraine Novus. And at some point, my mom said to her, you know what, like, we can't continue with the modern anymore. I can't afford it all. And she scholarshiped me the year. So it's my way of giving forward. And if Lorraine Novus ever listens to this, video. I hope she knows how grateful I am as an adult now for that year of, you know, free modern classes that she gave me. So it's just paying it back. But yes, I never want finances to be in somebody's way. And there are also ways of helping people here. You know, if they want to do dance competitions, I can approach several of the dance competitions and ask for some scholarship. There's dance store, you know, that I can go to and say, please, you know, could you donate a pair of ballet shoes to this child? So yes, no, I don't think ballet should only be for the wealthy. It should be for everybody. I mean, some things are more expensive than others. I mean, going to YAGP finals or something, that's a very expensive trip. So it's something we're only going to do every second year now. You know, it can be a $5,000 trip for like 2 days with the airfare and the hotels and the whole thing. It's very expensive, but I don't ever want money to be a reason somebody doesn't dance.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of boys doing ballet in your ballet school?
Unfortunately not.
Hmm.
I live in an area where boys go and play baseball. So when I found this one young boy, and he loves dancing. He doesn't care that he's in the one hip hop class, there's two other boys. In the ballet, he's the only boy. He doesn't care. He's friends with all the girls. He hangs out with them. He's the cutest. He's just one of the team, you know. He's just really, I wish I had more boys. I just think in the area where I live, there's just much more focus on sports for
Yes.
boys.
More strong sport activity than ballet, because many boys think that ballet is only for girls,
Correct.
unfortunately. Yes. But I think it would take some time, and you will be able to convince also the boy section
Correct.
to do, because if you do a pas
Correct.
de
And you
deux,
know,
if you do a pas de deux, you teach a pas de deux, you need some boys.
correct. And you know, the beginning of this year, I was in contact with Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet. They have a boys program, and the director of the male program reached out to me and said, can you help me find a male dancer? We want to give them a 2-year scholarship,
Yes.
everything, housing, tuition, medical, everything. You know, it was almost impossible to find a male dancer who wanted this opportunity. I couldn't believe it. I thought it would be so easy. And it was just really, really hard to find a male dancer. I approached all my colleagues. I think eventually I found somebody. I don't know if he ever took the opportunity, but I mean, they do offer incredible incentives to male dancers. It's just sometimes it just depends where you are. But I feel like having this one young boy at my studio is going to make a bit of a difference. Because I think if I can get him to be very successful, the rest will follow.
Yes. I think you are the right person that will give a chance to this young boy to open a career in front of
Oh,
his future
absolutely.
life.
And
Because
I found some incredible young boys. You know, I found, now I'm talking about not in my studio, in my journey as finding people to take to Europe. I took a young male dancer there last year. He was 17 years old. He came from a studio where his focus was contemporary, was one ballet a week, so wasn't very strong ballet. And after this first day in Portugal, he called me. I was in Portugal there with him. And he said, this is too hard for me. I can't manage this. I said, don't worry. I know the school teachers. I'll talk to them. They know that you haven't had much ballet training. And by the end of the 2 weeks, they invited him into the full-time program. That's how much he, you know, and I feel like it was a pity he never got that ballet training earlier. He's going to go on and have a great career, probably more in a contemporary dancer. I have another boy that I'm taking this year from Austin, and he is going to join the full-time program afterwards. But he needs to go there. He needs to go to Europe. He needs to be exposed to, you know, in his studio where he's one of two boys in the whole studio, but he's 16 years old. I want to take him somewhere and put him where there's 20 boys in the class, not being one boy doing pas de deux with 20 girls. You know, you got to pick up every single girl.
yeah.
So I think I like the way that it's working, at least having an opportunity and some way to send these boys that in fact actually you know, train amongst other boys.
Yes. Well, I think this is a good thing that you are doing, Mrs. Louise, because
Thank you.
I think you have many potential now to open this great opportunity to your students to travel, to get involved into different type of projects, not only into ballet, but in different type of dance technique. And
And fantastic, really.
because it's
You know,
not only in ballet, but there is contemporary. There is a lot of different styles.
well, I've had in the last 2 years 2 other dancers stay in Portugal after the summer course, and it changed their lives. I mean, they went to Youth America Grand Prix Paris. They've been to Barcelona. They've been to Romania to dance.
Yeah,
I can't mention her name because the public doesn't know yet. I'm taking an extremely talented 14-year-old from the United States to Portugal in September, and she's going to be a principal ballerina somewhere one day. One day I'll tell you her name, but right now we need to keep that a little bit quiet.
yeah,
But I know that it's opening, and it's so funny how we meet people just randomly. This young dancer had posted on something on Instagram. I don't know what I should do for the summer. And I reached out to her straight away. I was like, I know what you should do for the summer. But it didn't work out that she could come this summer. But we started talking. I was talking to her parents. They're both from Russia. So they understand the importance of training and the importance of having some experience in Europe as well.
yeah.
And in September this year, her life is going to change because she's going to be
Good.
doing,
That
instead
is,
of YHEP in Texas
yeah,
or a different city, she will be in Paris and Barcelona and Romania and
yeah,
having incredible opportunity.
yes. In Romania also there are a lot of good ballet schools and
Mhm.
it's a great opportunity. Mrs. Louise, we are unfortunately approaching to the end of our beautiful interview. And
Okay.
so I just wanted to ask a few questions before we end up. Uh, what are your future projects about, oops, excuse me. What are the future projects that you are trying to develop in your mind for ballet concerning
Okay.
teaching, concerning choreographing, concerning everything? I mean,
Okay.
now that you are becoming an important figure of dance in United States, because everybody talks about Mrs. Louise. If you need something, go to Mrs. Louise. She knows how to help you. So you are a reference point on
Thank
Instagram,
you.
on Facebook, on everything. So, what are your future projects?
Okay. I have a project I'm very excited about. It's called Ballet Contemporary and Beyond. It is a project that I'm starting with a very good friend of mine. Her name is Jessica Odez. She's in New York. I'm in Chicago. We are both ballet teachers, and we have 2 contemporary teachers. What this program is, I'm very involved in the competition world, and I can see what's missing in the competition world. And right now, kids go to the competition, they compete, they get their award, and they leave. And the award is like a plastic trophy or a plaque or something like that. I don't want to do that. So our program is we have a date for Dallas this year and Chicago. We're starting small, so if we make any mistakes on the way, we can fix them. But what Ballet Contemporary and Beyond is going to be is a 2-day program for dancers, where each morning they get a ballet class and a contemporary class. It's only ages 9 to 12 and in 13 through teen.
Mhm.
And in the afternoon on the Saturday, they have a coaching session with either myself or with Jessica, or if it's a contemporary piece, one of the contemporary teachers. Very short coaching session. So say they do a variation, take Bluebird, for example, we'll give them their corrections straight away. It'll be a 10-minute, their teacher can sit in, observe, 10-minute coaching session with the dancer. We'll give them their corrections. The very next day on the Sunday, they will actually get to perform the variation. For us, we are keeping it like what we call a black box theater, which is a small theater it's usually a studio that's been converted with seats and that. So we want it a little bit more intimate. And we're going to have them compete the next day and see how they did with their corrections, whether it be a little arm change, or maybe you weren't using a fifth position, or maybe you weren't using your pullman or something. We want to see if they will apply those corrections. And instead of placing somebody, giving them prizes and awards, their reward will be placement in summer school programs. And I've partnered with Portugal, Anarella Sanchez, Art of Ballet in Amsterdam, Ballet 5/8 in Chicago, Nashville Ballet in Nashville, Tennessee. There will be one scholarship available for Ballet Beyond Borders in Montana. And we're looking at a few others. So instead of everybody getting a certificate or a plaque, they will already, before December, have a placement in a prestigious summer school program. So Jessica and I are very excited about this program. I think it's wonderful to get feedback from judges before you actually even compete. So we're very, very excited about that. It will also be like a little a pre-performance before they actually go to any other competition, be it YAGP or Itoli Ballet or something like that. So or Universal Ballet. So it's a little bit of an opportunity to be seen by judges, to work with us, to take class with us, and then get their coaching and then get to compete it the next day. But as I said, it's going to be different. So that's my next project.
So it's like a prologue that you are preparing before the actual project. What if one day maybe you would decide to open your own ballet company, not ballet, but contemporary, your own company with your own dancers?
That isn't something that I really would want to do. It's not, I don't want to have my own company. I want to retire as well one day. So I enjoy the traveling. I enjoy meeting, working with students. I enjoy traveling. I'm already booking auditions I go to several cities to audition for Anarella Sanchez Summer School. So I'm already booking for the 2025 summer school. I've already got Boston, Boca Raton, Florida, probably Rochester, Texas, California. So I have a lot of things to do. I just wouldn't really want to have. And unfortunately, the problem is Chicago. I don't think I'm going to live here forever, but there's no money in Chicago for the arts. Like, it would be so hard to raise funding to have my own company. After COVID, most of our companies, except for Joffrey Ballet and Ballet 5/8, really shut down. We have Giordano, a contemporary company, but a lot of the smaller companies shut down. A company is not something that's in my plans for the future.
No. So you prefer to remain like you are now with a school?
Correct.
Oh, okay. But never talk about retirement, because you are still too young.
Yeah, I know.
No.
But I don't think I will retire. I mean, I enjoy teaching. I enjoy being in the classroom. I love the energy. I love the music. Music fills me with so much passion.
Never give up. It would be a shame. You're young. You're still young. So you are a member of Ballet International, the group of Facebook.
Yes.
What are the words that you would like to say to the dancers who are listening to you, and maybe they have never been working with you? What are the words that come from your heart for ballet?
I would like to say to all of them, ballet is something that's in your heart. People can teach somebody all the steps, but if you don't have that passion in your heart, it's very difficult. But I think those of us who have it in our heart must freely share it with everybody. And I think, I had a dream at the age of 5. So if I can have a dream at the age of 5 come true, anybody else can have a dream and have that come true. We are very blessed to be involved in this ballet world. It is a very beautiful world. We share a lot with so many people. We respect each other. And I think that, just keep, to the people listening to this, keep going with your dreams. One should never give up on one's dream. If you're prepared to work, you need to put in the hard work and effort and sacrifices. You really do, in order to achieve your dreams. But I knew at age 5, and I gave up growing up, birthday parties, sleepovers with friends, you know, high school dances. I gave up a lot of that because I knew I had ballet the next day and I wanted to dance, and that was more important to me. But look how blessed I feel right now, you know, talking to you in Rome. And thank you for this opportunity to share my story. But it's, you know, it's really, we're very blessed. And I just hope that you all, whoever's listening to this, just keeps appreciating the true art of pure classical ballet. We can love all the contemporary and everything. The true art of classical ballet will never, ever die. And it's up to us and the generations to follow to keep this art alive. And like my students only watching variations, I'm actually okay with it because they are still invested so strongly in pure classical ballet. And when I did Les Solfèges with them, they embraced it.
Yes. So this is a beautiful thing that you have said, because you have to embrace the art of ballet all the time. You can never let it fall down. Always keep it in your heart. Always. Mrs. Louise, we have reached the end of our interview. I hope that the interview will not have problems with the sound and with the image, because I saw that the image is disappearing and returning back. So, however, we keep in touch. And
Okay, thank you so much.
I really would love, it will be a wish that I'm doing, to meet you one day.
I hope so.
Because I'm sure that maybe one day we can develop new ideas, a new program for the young people, and
Maybe there's a program in Italy you can recommend.
Yes, there are plenty of, you know, the good intentions are a million, but to realize those intentions, maybe you succeed in one or two, because, you know, there are a lot of problems. I'm not referring to Italy, but sometimes organizing events, artistic events, are very difficult because there is a question of finance, there is a question of politics, there is a question of authorization, there is a question, 1,000 of authorization. And Italy is not an easy place to get all this authorization. When you want something from a theater, when you want something from it becomes complicated. There are many people from the United States who have organized things, and they ask me, could you help us to have all the permits? And I refused. I refused because to have all the permits here in Italy, you need at least weeks of time, and it doesn't mean that after all these weeks you will succeed in getting them. So it's
Well, it takes me a year to plan each trip to Portugal. I spend a whole year working on it. It's not something, but it's also Portugal's very easy because we just go there for a summer school program and they welcome us into the community. And ballet is very elevated there. Ballet is very important there, so they really welcome the American students. But it's a full-time. It's literally a full-time job. That's why I can't open a company too.
So, you know, for the audience, it's much easier because the audience go to the theater, goes to the auditorium and sit there and enjoy the performance. But the audience doesn't realize the organization that is behind and the people who have been working behind all this to organize how hard it is. I mean, you really lose your hair, like me, to organize good things. So, Mrs. Louise, thank you, really a big thank you from my heart for accepting to participate to this interview. And I do hope that the audience of Ballet International will enjoy listening not only one time, because the audience of Ballet International is very naughty. They listen to the interview once and then it's it. No, they have to listen 2-3 times to understand, because every time you will get a different point and different idea. So thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So you stay online a little minute, and then I say hello, bye-bye to everyone, to Mrs. Louise, saying a big thank you, and to the audience.